And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Jim Wilgenbusch.
Thanks very much, Aaron, and thanks everyone for attending this workshop today. We had the benefit of being able to look at the people who have registered, and as you'll see when we show a little bit more about the demographics, it's really an impressive set of people covering a global geography. And so when we first conceived of this workshop, you know, we really knew that we would probably be looking at bringing together about 50 people co-located at a meeting in Lubbock, Texas. I guess, you know, the bright side of our current situation is that we're able to do something like this that has much greater reach and bring in people's perspectives from across the globe. So we're very excited to have all of you here. And as things stand, we have 111 participants. That number, based on our registration, could grow very close to 300. And I know that people are busily joining right now. So hopefully sort of this background and context gives people time to settle in and to get ready for some of the talks that we'll have today. And then importantly, to be able to share your perspective. So please take notes if you have ideas and thoughts. We have breakout rooms scheduled so that you have an opportunity to share those. And we're very eager actually to hear from you on these topics. So looking forward to hearing from you more. As far as context is concerned, I wanted to just start by sort of stating the obvious, is that it's really hard if you're in the field of agricultural research not to see in many of the outlets that we all read the numerous signs that there is contention about our data. There are issues about who owns it and how it's protected, and what are the consequences if someone were to be trusted with it and to allow someone unauthorized access to that data. These are all questions that are necessary, are important, but as technologists also impede what we would like to do with these data. And so could you move to the next slide, please? So we've been talking about these, and if I just took a small sample of some of the meetings that the organizers of this workshop attended in the last year, it's a pretty impressive set. For that matter, I think many of you here were on this current webinar. We're at the 2018 meeting on driving innovation through data in agriculture in Beltsville, Maryland, and then moving into 2019, there was nearly a meeting every single month that in some way had to do with data privacy or issues, be they technical or cultural, around the protection, privacy, and ownership of data. And I won't read all of these, but this is just a sample again of what's happening in our space, because I think as a community, we're taking note that to realize the sort of dreams of the data, big data promise and big data deluge, we need to address these issues, and there are a number of things that we need to find consensus for. Next slide, please. So another part of sort of the background and the context in this is that I would say an opportunity and a challenge is the fact that R&D is now being performed, the majority of R&D is now being performed in the private sector. And that is a shift across all geographies, where increasingly now we're seeing the private sector contributing to the majority of agricultural research and development. And so this shift, though, does present some problems. The data sources may be the same, but the applications are very different. And so what we are going to be focusing on today is primarily the research and development end of things. Many of the workshops that people have probably attended in the last year or two have had a very strong sort of farm focus from the standpoint of what tools and what opportunities do farmers have with respect to the deluge of data related to agriculture that is now available. We certainly don't want to ignore that. We feel like some of the data sources are the same, but from a research perspective, the applications can be much more broad and perhaps in some cases less focused on the specific applications that farmers themselves might be interested in. And so we're really interested in focusing that scope again on the broader area that our research communities, whether they be private or public, are interested in and what obstacles they might be encountering. Next slide. There's also a component, I'm speaking as a technologist here, that I think is important to acknowledge, and that is much of this would not be possible if it were not for some of the technological advances that are happening, both in terms of how we're able to sense or get our data through various new sensing technologies, but importantly also in terms of how we're able to manage and deal with that data and what considerations need to be made when it comes to storing, sharing, and protecting the data that we are responsible for. And so, we can think of some of these convening technologies in the form of technologies that have allowed us to take what intuitively might have been considered a book of insights and observations to something that could be, more broadly applied to take advantage again of these new data sources and these new data types. Next slide. And so with that context and background, I just wanted to share with you why the organizers are extremely excited about this meeting, is because this is a snapshot actually of the participants, those who are joining us today. We're up to 123 right now. And as you can see, it really is a global workshop. And this is not something that we imagined when we first started thinking about bringing people together. This is far beyond what we had hoped, actually, and is really fantastic to see so many people from so many different places able to join us for this event. In terms of the sector, this has also exceeded our expectations. The sectors represented here include members from academia, government, industry, and non-governmental organizations. And this again is a fantastic a snapshot of what we were hoping to see. We also have speakers from tribal research and data groups, growers associations, and intra-governmental organizations. So I'm very happy to have everyone here and excited to hear these perspectives, especially in the breakout sessions. As far as roles, as we mentioned, the focus of this workshop will be on research, and appropriately, I think the majority of people attending as far as their roles are concerned are in research, but we also have other people who are intimately tied to research in the form of data managers, librarians, administrators, managers, programmers, IT professionals, funders, professors, and other people working in the ag space. And so we're very excited to welcome those individuals with not only a broad geographic distribution, but also many different roles representing broad sector of our economy. Next slide, please. And so actually we're going to hold that. I think we're going to skip out of this and maybe return to the agenda and jump in really to our first session of speakers. And so while Aaron brings that up, again, the number of participants that we're at right now is 124. We're thrilled to see all of you. And we're going to be going into a session of speakers here in the next minute. And then following that session of speakers, we will have a breakout. And in that breakout session, you'll be assigned to a specific breakout group, which will hopefully consist of no more than 25 people, where you'll be given some questions, and we would love for you to share your thoughts on those specific questions, and we'll aggregate those at the end. So Aaron, if you want to bring up maybe the agenda again, and we can go forward and introduce the next speaker.